think we are live. Welcome, my dear Facebook friends. Once again, Ginger the Voice on your doorstep. We're nudging you once again, knocking on your door, saying we are here for tonight's episode. We were together yesterday and we are here tonight for you. We'll just give you a few seconds to tune in, and I would like to ask those who are watching us already, waiting in anticipation for our dear special guest for tonight, to please like our video or say something so that we know that you are with us. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Welcome to Ginger the Voice. Knock on the door. Good evening, Facebookers. We are excited once again. We are at your doorstep. Ain't it a blessing that we're doing it twice in 1 week? We usually hold these shows once a week, but this week we have a special week where we hold it twice. But we thank you for your patience, because last week we couldn't have our live show, but you were so dedicated and committed to us, Ginger the Voice, to come and watch yesterday and today. Thank you so much for coming through. If you can see me or you can hear me in the comfort of your home or wherever you are, welcome to our show tonight. And can I ask you to please either like our video, or you can say something, just to drop a comment to say hello there. Knock on your doorstep. Once again, Facebookers, thank you so much. We can see you there liking our video for tonight. We'll give it just a few seconds so that our regular viewers can come through. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate this as Ginger the Voice. We actually appreciate your patience, because our routine was interrupted last week, but you didn't lose hope and you didn't lose heart. You still joined us yesterday, so we're very excited, and we believe that today you will join us, as we have a very special guest who's going to talk to us and enlighten us for this evening. Knock, Facebookers. Here is Ginger the Voice on your doorstep. Welcome once again tonight. We are here, Ginger the Voice, at your doorstep, wanting your attention, actually asking for your attention. So if you can hear us tonight, please do like our video. We can see a number of our guests coming through. We can see people liking our video and giving comments. Thank you so much for coming through. We welcome you. I will not shout out your names because then it will take forever, the entire night, to shout out everyone's name. But thank you so much. We can see you liking our page or our video for tonight. We'll just give it a few seconds so that people can come through. At 7 o'clock. Our appointment is on every Wednesday, 7 o'clock. But this week we've got a special week where we have 2 shows in 1 week. Thank you so much for coming through. We'll just give it a few more seconds so that our viewers can join in. Ginger the Voice at your doorstep tonight, requiring or requesting for your attention. Knock. We say welcome, dear Facebookers. Thank you so much. We can see you liking our video. We can see you coming through. Thank you. We've seen that as well. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for liking our video. Thank you for coming through. Welcome. We'll just give it just 5 more seconds so that our regular viewers can come and join in this exciting conversation that we're having tonight. So Ginger the Voice at your doorstep. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are once again here on the 29th of October 2020. Amazing how the year has gone so fast. And in the midst of it all, we are still alive. Ain't God good, Facebookers? He totally is. Thank you so much for coming through. We can see you liking our video tonight. Welcome, our dear Facebookers. We will start in a few seconds. We're glad to have you come and watch and join in this stimulating conversation that we'll be having tonight. And I think we've given our viewers enough time, and we see those likes and those live emojis there. Thank you so much. We see your comments as well. And we will not waste your time, because our appointment is every Wednesday at 7 o'clock and also tonight at 7 o'clock. So welcome once again tonight, Facebookers. My name is Ginger, and I'm the founder of Ginger the Voice. We're a company that seeks to give hope, courage, and enlightenment to you. We do this through various platforms, such as speaking, singing, and also hosting talk shows such as this. So we welcome you tonight to our episode, where we will be talking and having a conversation that's exciting, that's rejuvenating and stimulating, with our special guest, the accomplished Yolanda. You know, we want to see today and ask her a lot of questions of how did she become who she is, you know, defying all odds. That is the topic for tonight. So we want to say to you as Ginger the Voice that in the midst of it all, you too can make it. If you have a dream, you have a vision that you have for your life, do not give up. It can be done. If one person can do it, surely all of us in South Africa can achieve the goals that we set for ourselves. So tonight, we have Yolanda Cuba, rather Cuba. I always call her Cuba. I don't know why, but I just recently found out a few weeks ago that so Cuba, not Cuba. So we want to welcome her. She's a Group Chief Digital and FinTech Officer for MTN. Yolanda, welcome to our show. Ginger the Voice is very excited to have you here, and I'm sure our Facebookers are more than excited to have you here. Welcome. Maybe you can say just a hello to our Facebookers so they know that you are live with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Ginger. It's such a privilege to be on your show, and I'm looking forward to the engagement today. I mean, for me, just being part of a platform that seeks to enlighten, seeks to encourage, and seeks to actually talk about the deep values and the deep kind of passions that drive people is an important kind of platform to be on.
Wow, wonderful. I first met you obviously at the Assemblies of God platform online. That actually it was the second time, because the first time I met you was on Kandi's Zoom webinar rather. And I saw this lady who was assertive, and not aggressive, I might say. We'll come to that question later on in the show. But first things first, who is Yolanda Cuba? Yolanda Zoleka Cuba. Who are you? Where are you from? Who's your mother? Did you, just background of who you are? We see now a lady who has accomplished quite a lot, but just take us a little bit back. Who are you?
So Yolanda Tuba is the daughter of November Tuba. November Tuba, one of the people that I admire quite a bit, because she actually started her law firm in the 80s in Kempton Park in the early 80s. So that was apartheid South Africa when she actually did that in an area where Blacks there do not go, right? And before that, I'm the grandchild of my grandmother, and my grandmother was a single parent in the most part of it, because her husband died. She was widowed at a young age, and she had to raise her children by herself, and she had businesses. Her husband left her with lots of businesses, and she actually took the metal and she actually carried on and was able to actually hand over those businesses to one of her kids. So I always say I come from good stock when I define who I am. Having said that, I had one part of my family that was the business side. I mean, that were very entrepreneurial. However, I had another part of my life where I actually lived in a shack. From about the age of 3 years old all the way to about 9 years old. I pretty much, other than 1 year, lived mostly in a shack with my grandmother in Johannesburg. And coming from those humble beginnings, teaches you a lot. Because even when you actually are in an environment of the haves, you are able to balance even the things that you should be focusing on, and you prioritize your life according to some form of values that you would have you've been taught as a child. So that's who Yolanda is. I am a parent. I've got 2 amazing kids, Lilibo and Limile, that keep me young, and I've got a twin sister as well. So I've been fortunate and blessed to actually to be born one of 2. So my life has never been down. I've always had a companion of some kind in my life. And so when it wasn't my sister, it was my ex-husband. So, I've always had a partner in crime, I say, at every step of the way in my life.
Okay, so as one who has tasted both sides of the world, where you had a moment where you have had it, and a moment where you've experienced poverty, what did you learn out of that? I can see it made you Yolanda, but what did you learn out of not having?
Out of not having, I mean, the biggest thing is in those years, when I was 6 years old, maybe that's how I should have said. When I was 6 years old, I was asked, what do I want to become? Right?
Okay.
And
a very famous question, I must say.
Yeah, and I said, right? I wanted to be a white person, right? And at that stage, the reality is that the only time I saw white people was when I flew, when the first time I came to Joburg, because I was coming from the affluent family to the north, so I did fly, and or on TV. And on TV, if you are old enough to be old enough as me, you remember the Peter Stuyvesant ads and the like. And it was yachts, it was big houses, it was fun. So I almost associated being white with prosperity and freedom, right? And being able to explore. And I really like that kind of notion. And so as a child, I obviously couldn't articulate what I'm saying now. And basically, I just said, you can no, because we actually have a life. We actually happen to be free to do the kind of things that they're doing. And really, that actually is what I would say to people, is that my grandmother in Duduza, taught us a lot of things. And one of the things that she taught us is that education is a key to a better life. Right? Okay. And even though, my grandmother was a preschool teacher, and she made us come back home. You remember those boards, that three-legged boards, blackboards,
the blackboard,
and some were green. When we were 4 years old, 5 years old, before we even went to sub A, that is grade 1 for the new guys, and we actually had to write our vowels there, do our numbers and everything like that before you went to play.
Okay.
When our friends were already playing, Tina were getting home and doing that first. And that was a thing. So what did I learn during that period is discipline and the value of education. Right.
Oh, wow.
And that's what carried me throughout these years, that I never knew I was poor. I just knew that it wasn't the same as in Cape Town. In Cape Town, I could get a lot of stuff. They had Mercedes-Benzes there. Here we walked to school. There you were driven. Here you did this, here you did that.
And I suppose it taught you also to be resilient as well. The comfort life was no longer there. So it showed you another life that even if you don't have, you still can continue with life without having all these luxuries.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I wanted to also ask you, Yolanda, so what is your definition of success then? Because when we look at Yolanda, we're thinking, wow, this lady is successful.
So my definition of success is being able to do the things that you want at the pace that you want and how you want, right? And that, for me, that is that ownership mentality of who you are. So I choose, for example, where I want to make an impact. I choose where to work. I choose when to work, right? And choice is a big part of success for me. It's not money, right? It is not the position you hold, or at least I hold. It is just the ability to do the things I want when I want to do them. And that freedom, and I guess it goes back again to the Peter Stuyvesant thing that I was talking about as a child, is that I saw freedom, right? And so somehow in my mind, being free to do the things you want is success.
Okay. Earlier on in this conversation, you had said that your grandmother would tell you guys that education is what will basically give you success. Is that still applicable in 2020, where we see a lot of graduates sitting at home, some of their master's degrees, they're not holding a job? So how do we then change maybe the narrative, I would say, because the reality is such that there's so much high unemployment rate in our country. So telling someone that go to school, does that work? Does that apply in 2020?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
the only difference in 2020, right, is that the kind of mix of education that you need, right?
Okay.
You have to, even if you have talent, without skill, you can't do anything. Skill is a learned thing. It's a learned behavior. It's a learned capability. So you have to learn somewhere. And then you can choose to do it informally or formally. So there was a time when you could learn coding by going to do a computer science course for 3 years or 4 years. Now you can do it in 6 months, in a year, and then be practical around application of a coding skill, right? That's the difference. That is the difference. Okay, it's the mixture that we're having now, the combination between formal and informal education there is no need necessarily. I still think people should still go to tertiary institutions, because I think there are skills that you learn in a tertiary institution that you don't learn in high school. And a practical one that I tell people is, for example, when you're at school, when you are in high school, you are taught how to read a textbook from the beginning to the end and then regurgitate it. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you go to a tertiary institution, you get textbooks this big for one course, and you're actually going to write an exam in 4 months. No one, at least us normal people, us mere mortals, right, can go through each and every page. Okay? Absolutely. And you cannot memorize each and every page. So now for the first time, you're expected to learn this new skill. And that is being able to be selective around what is required and actually working towards an end result. And the end result is passing. Now you are actually starting to train your brain around application of knowledge and being able to actually just prioritize what your brain thinks is important. Maybe it might be wrong, especially for people that spot learn, but for most of us, we actually just get the concept. Actually, because we can't memorize everything, we then start applying our own minds to the concept that is actually being introduced in a textbook. So for me, those are the kind of stuff where I'm saying, these skills are you don't get to learn them anywhere else other than in a tertiary institution, to be honest. And that's because of pressure, not because of anything that you actually end up learning.
Okay, I guess that also applies to people who are more, who can gravitate towards studying books. You get people who are more practical than who can do theory. That's why we have your TVT colleges at the moment, because some people are much more better in woodwork. They're much more better in doing things that are more handy than sitting down and going to school. I suppose this would more apply to people who are more in the theory space.
No, both.
Okay.
There is no way you can tell me that you can be a developer without sitting in a classroom at some point, right?
Absolutely.
So even if you're practical, and that's why I was talking about a mixed approach. When I talk about myself, I tell people that I've had to pivot a number of times. I'm an accountant talking about digital and fintech and transforming technology, using technology to transform people's lives. And every day I talk about APIs, I talk about so many things that I never even imagined that I would be talking about, right? And you have to be willing to pivot. It took me 7 years to qualify as a CA. I could have said, no, it's 7 years to qualify as a CA. I've done my undergrad, I did my honors, I did 2 board exams and 3 years of articles, So after that, who wants to actually pivot after that? You have to milk what you've invested in. However, I've said, no, actually, in this kind of environment I live in, if I want to be impactful, these are the things that I actually need to do. I need to recreate who I am in a different context that is relevant for the future.
Okay. Yolanda, as I went through your profile earlier on and a few weeks back, I see that in a very short space of time, you've actually quite done some strides, in your career. You got into Vodacom and you were chief officer. Then 2 years later, you were promoted into a chief executive. And 3 years later, in 2019, you're now in this new position. How did you do it? Because the corporate world is known to be very demanding. It's known to be and also a little bit, it's got boundaries for women, if I can put it that way. So how did you get to the space that you're in such a short space of time?
Firstly, I always tell people, when I was very young, I used to say I was lucky, right? Okay. And then when I matured in my faith, I started saying I'm blessed. It is God's favor. And for God to give you favor, in whatever field you are, we all have different talents, And my boss once said to me, Yolanda, to catch the highest wave, you have to be on the surfboard in a wetsuit and waiting for the wave. And you cannot be on the shore. You will never catch the highest wave standing on the shore. And that's, I guess, one of the important things is that God will grant you favor. Sure. However, it is up to you to actually be ready for the opportunity.
Okay. All right.
You know,
So you're saying
people who are ready for the opportunity are the ones that actually do not wait for the entire door to open, but when there is a crack on the window, they even use that.
Can you give us an example? You know, let's be more practical, because I hear what you're saying and understand the words that you're bringing now, but let's give an example so that people can understand what is this thing of saying that I will not wait for an opportunity, I will make an opportunity myself.
So let's think about when I moved to SAB, right, from Velapanda. So I've been a CEO of Velapanda. Yeah, can you hear me? I was a CEO of Velapanda, and then I decided that I needed to actually think about the next phase of my life. And this was in 2010. And I had a brilliant mentor. I don't know if you know a guy called Simon Sussman. Simon Sussman from Woolworths, used to be chief executive of Woolworths and now chairman of Woolworths. And he said to me, Yolanda, anyone can be a shooting star, but what's going to make you sustainable? Right? When you are on top of your game and someone asks you that, you can do one of two things. One, you can dismiss them, and that's the easy one to do. Or you can go home and apply your mind to a very vexing question. You know, that actually says, you are now just over 30, and where are you going to be in 20 years or 30 years time? Do you think you have enough tools? You know, you've been successful once in this, when playing with this Velapanda thing, you've become a CEO at a young age and all these things, but can you do it again, right? And in order to do it again, I had to reflect again and say, what is it that I needed to do? And I said, what I need to learn is a repeatable models of success. Yeah. And I sat back and I said, which companies in South Africa actually have demonstrated repeatable models of success? Right? Okay. And I identified two at the time. Yeah. And those
did you maybe, sorry, just to interject you quickly, did you Google that information, or you went around asking people?
They are in the newspapers, they are in magazines, they're everywhere. Right. Because remember, I was looking for something specific to me. It's not something that I can Google. If you Google which company has a repeatable models of success, you won't get any, right? Sure. Because it was something that was internal to me, because I had to do the hard work of saying, what is going to make Yolanda sustainable based on the question that I've been asked by my mentor. And I said learning repeatable models of success. And I then looked at two companies, MTN, strange enough, and SAB. Why did I choose them? I said, these are two companies that have moved from being a small or medium or large company in the south tip of Africa to be global giants. SAB became the number 2 brewer only to AB InBev, sold for over R1 trillion, right? At the end. And then on the other side, you had a company like MTN that came from the south tip of Africa and actually was in so many countries and became and is now still in the top 10 telcos in the world, right? And you don't do that by fluke. You do that by having some system that you use that actually helps you to actually deliver that consistently. And so I then called Mr. Norman Adami, who was the CEO of SAB, picked up my phone, called him. I called Putu Mantleko, never met Putu Mantleko in my life, the CEO of MTN. Hi, sir, you're talking to Yolanda. Okay? This is can I have an appointment with you? And I sat down with both of them and I said to Putuma, I want a role that is able to give me this repeatable models of success. I said, I want to educate my intuition from a business perspective. Because the more senior you go, you realize that you don't have perfect information at any one time. So you make decisions based on imperfect information, right? So you have to be able to educate yourself around how to make decisions, even in ambiguous situations or where you lack perfect information. So I said, I wanted to do that, and I wanted to learn repeatable models of success. I said, I wanted a position that will give me air cover, however, will give me sufficient accountability for me to be able to deliver on whatever the mandate might be, right? I did the same pitch to Norman, right? And you know, with Norman, so Putuma was then about to leave MTN. And he said, look, Yolanda, when SPISO comes, let's have this conversation, right? And then when I spoke to Norman said, actually, Yolanda, we're going to reach out to you. Like, this is how God works, right? Sure. We were going to reach out to you because we were looking for you.
Right?
Yeah. And literally, that's how I ended up at SAD. It was intentional.
So what I see here and what I can reach, sorry to just interject you, it was not just your faith, because I hear you talking a lot about God and featuring blessings and God in your conversations. It's not just you praying for opportunity. You did the hard work as well. You got your hands dirty, educated yourself, read, and you somehow probably had to fit in some, an ounce or two of confidence to say, I'm going to meet this lady, whether she knows me or not. I'm going to sit down and say, this is what I want.
Absolutely. Okay, there is no prizes for courage in this game. The reason why people get ahead is not because someone next to them hasn't thought about the big idea that they're doing. It's who has the courage to actually implement.
Wow.
So the guy, I tell people I'm an introvert by nature. A lot of people don't believe me when I say that. I'm an introvert by nature. So I hate being in big groups and throwing myself right in the middle of them and so on. So even today, I had a thing that I used to do which is to count to 5 or count to 10, and then I have to be talking to the person by the time I get to 10, right?
All right.
And I still do it. Right? Because I understand that sitting in my corner,
will not help you.
Will not help me.
And the funny thing, Yolanda, Mendoza said it.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
and by the way, this is not a new concept, right? It's been around forever. That actually you actually have to have the courage to do things for things to change. By the way, it didn't start with, maybe a lot of people might be thinking, maybe it started when she was, when she was already CEO. Maybe she might have met these people, and these people maybe might have known about her and so on. That made it easy. Let me tell you, when I was in my second year of articles, right, and I was trying to decide which specialization I wanted to. So should I be a classical CFO? Should I be in corporate finance? Should I be a stockbroker? Should I be, because that's what happens when you become a CA. You've got all these avenues that open up after that. And I wasn't sure which one I wanted to go to, but I had a very good idea of what was in my heart, right? And in that process, then I actually sat and I said, how am I going to make this decision? Do you know what I took? Financial mail. I don't know, my uncle doesn't work at Financial Mail. I don't know anyone there. It was my first day in Joburg. I took this Financial Mail. In Financial Mail does these analyst ratings every year towards the end of the year. And I took that insert where they've got the analysts. I took top stockbrokers, top research analysts, top corporate finance people. I called them. I call people at Investec. I call people at RMB. I call people at Absa Capital, right? And I said, hello, how are you? I am Yolanda. I'm in my second year of articles.
Just to interject there, in this journey of you calling these people, taking the initiative, did you come across a situation where doors were closed, and how did you then get back on your feet to say, let me try again?
Strange enough, you would be shocked how willing people are to help you. The only difference is that you find more people more open than others. So some of them, for example, invited me to lunch, to meet up with them for lunch. And some of them are still friends even today from them, right? And some of them were just happy just to have a conversation on the phone.
Okay, all right.
That was it. That was it. and one or two ignored you, and it was okay. Like, my view is, if you try and call 10 people and 7 of them actually answer, or 8 of them answer, you have an 80% success rate. We spend so much time focusing on the 2 that we actually forgot that we actually had an 80% success rate. Those are good odds on any day. I'll take them.
Okay. Yolanda, you are in the corporate space and you're a woman. So as we know, in our country, we're trying to redress the imbalances of the past, where women were not, viewed as capable of occupying managerial positions and strategic positions. So how do you, as a woman, are you able to raise your voice without being overlooked, but in a way that is more assertive than aggressive? What are the steps to that? Because some of us are aspiring to be in these strategic positions, but now we want our voice to be heard in the corporate space, but we don't want to come across as aggressive. How does one then, work around being more assertive?
Okay. Firstly, I mean, I'm going to tell this to most Black children and most Afrikaner children. The first thing you have to let go is what your parents actually did to us and damaged us. They said children should be seen and not heard. You must be quiet, don't talk, right? And corporate doesn't work that way. Corporate says you actually have to voice your opinion, even if it is not perfect yet. So what I used to do in my first job, I was 21 years old. In my first job, my first review came back and they said Yolanda wasn't outspoken enough. And I was distraught because I was like, but I talk, And the reality of what was happening is, I had been taught through growing up, right, in my family, that you can't talk until you can improve the air, right? And that is one of the things that we must just let go of when we actually start in corporate, because corporate does not, it's unfortunately, it's unforgiving around that. So that is the first thing for me, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, as long as you come from that kind of upbringing, please learn to let it go. So what I call it is, I say to people, start thinking out loud. Don't think internally. And people say, but I don't. And I'm going to tell you, you do. And how do I know that you do? It's because someone else actually says what you've been thinking for the past 5 or 10 minutes before you. But you've been thinking about it. They ask the same question that you've been thinking about, but you didn't ask because you are busy like trying to perfect the way you want to ask the question. And you're asking yourself, is it a good question to ask or not, right? And we've all been there. We've all been there. So take that thing away. Start thinking out loud. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, do not allow people to talk on your behalf. And this is not being aggressive or anything. It's really when people say, I think what Yolanda is trying to say, right? And at that point you interject and you say, excuse me, what I was saying is the following. However, should you want to add, please continue.
Okay.
Right? Right? That is not being aggressive. You must own your position. Like there are people that are constantly trying to talk over you. Don't allow it. Don't allow it. You've got a brain. You are an individual with specific talents. You are employed by that employer for a reason. They saw something in you. That's why they employed you. We do not employ the worst person we interviewed. We actually employ the best person we interviewed.
Someone who's got potential.
Someone who's got potential. So, look, as a manager, right, I do not actually employ anyone who's going to make me look bad. Why would you? It's your choice, right? Why would you when it's your choice? You employ people that can carry their own weight, right? And so, I used to say even to Tokyo, I said, no, when you saw that I was going to be successful and you decided, okay, I want to associate with her. And he used to laugh when I actually used to say that. And I was a kid when I was saying that, right? And that's the truth, though, is that we see potential in you and we want to associate ourselves with the potential that we see.
Yolanda, okay, we've been talking a lot about the corporate space and you. Thank you for that. But we want to get a little bit more personal now with you. Are you married? Are you single? I mean, you're such a beautiful lady. There's no ways that some guy has seen you somewhere and wanting to say something and, but maybe scared of approaching you because you are so there, and you've made your footprint and your mark in the corporate world. Is Yolanda in a relationship? Is Yolanda married? What's going on in that front?
So I actually was married for 10 years to a wonderful man. And we're blessed with two children. Lovely. Two wonderful children. And it was really beautiful. However, at a point in time, we sat down and we said, actually, you know what? We are actually not compatible.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And basically looking at the next 40 years together, and we said, if we're not compatible now and we can't actually find ourselves in this compatibility thing, then we're going to have a problem, right? And basically, we then broke up on that basis. It was actually mutual, and it was on good terms. And in fact, when I moved back to South Africa last year, I moved back in May, and the kids had to start in the South African schooling system, so they had to start in January. He lived with the kids for the whole year, right?
Wonderful.
Took them on, and he lived with them, and we get on, right? So and that for me is a blessing that I've got an ex-husband who I get on with so well, right?
Who's involved with the kids?
Who's involved with the kids?
And it's quite easy.
We are co-parenting proper, right? And for me, that is like a proper blessing. I'm not married yet. Again, I'd love to get married again. Right? Okay. Let's put it out there. I'd love to get married again.
Hello, somebody looking. She's single.
I'm just saying, I'd like to get married again. One day, I would love to get married again. I love the companionship that we shared. I used to say to Nzo that my job is to help him be the best version of himself, and his job is to help me be the best version of me. And that's how we took on our partnership. And I would wish that if I met someone else and I got married, I'd be able to say that, to say we are a team together, and I expect love, and I expect you to help me grow. And on my side, you can expect to be respected, to be honored, to be admired, and therefore I would be easily able to submit to you. So that's what I want.
Okay, so I want to understand, with all the accomplishments and the success stories that you had in your career, were you still married at that time, or all of this happened when you decided that this is not the space for you at the moment? You want to free yourself, then you focused on your career.
No, my career started off very young. I was 23, 24 when my career started, and I got married when I became CEO. In Zona, I started dating 2 years or so before I became CEO of Mvela. So I was deputy CEO already when I met him. For me, these things are not mutually exclusive. You can't run one track and then stop and say, now I'm doing this and now I'm doing that. It doesn't work that way. There's no such thing as perfect timing. The right guy came along at the right time, and was super supportive and everything like that. And we grew together, right? We grew together in those years.
So
we're just team players together.
I want to know from you, there are a lot of ladies who have parked, their goals and their ambitions in life because they're saying they want to get married. What's your take on that?
Firstly, each to their own, right?
Okay.
There is no specific formula that works for everyone that is universal. Each to their own. So you must work with what works for you. I respect women, for example, that say, you know what, I'm ready to have kids now, or I'm having kids now, and I want to take the next 10 years off.
Of course.
Right? I want to spend time with my children. I respect that woman, because I said success to me is about freedom of choice, right? There are people that go to work every day being disgruntled that they cannot spend time at home with their children.
Mm.
And that actually permeates to the work that they do in the office, right?
Mm.
So I would rather those people actually stayed at home. Unfortunately, it's due to financial circumstance or constraint that they are not able to do that. So there is no formula. Do what suits you, and just understand that life is a lot more complex than actually having perfectly laid out steps about your life. And also that you don't control life. If there's one thing COVID has reminded us of, is that you don't control it. Don't assume that you're going to live to 80 or 60. You know,
because you don't know.
Yours is to actually live only for 30 years or 25 years. So if you are busy living life in series, right? One after the other, courage, it's not good. You are never going to actually experience the fullness and the richness that God would have wanted for you. You know, He's made you, so you might as well enjoy being here in the time that has been allocated to you.
Okay, you spoke about COVID and its consequences just now, because we don't know what's going to happen. Okay, so coming back into the corporate world and the business world, would you then advise youngsters to actually embark on entrepreneurship at this point in time, seeing that the job space is becoming, you know, it's narrowing down? And if you're advising them to go become entrepreneurial, do you think there's space for everyone?
Okay, there is space for everyone in entrepreneurship, because the truth is there is so many problems to be solved. Right. I mean, I don't want to lie to you. There are so many problems to be solved. And where there is a problem or a friction or a challenge, there is an opportunity to make money.
Okay.
By providing the right solution. So each and everyone has a space to play in entrepreneurship. We're not all going to be Jack Ma's.
Sure.
But we definitely can make a living actually being entrepreneurs. That's the first thing. The second thing that I tell everyone, corporate or not, you have to have multiple sources of income. Full stop. Full stop. Multiple sources of income. You know, you're going to work from birth to grave if you only have one source of income. Except if you are the exceptional 0.001% that ends up actually earning 50 million a year, right? If you are just a normal person, and now I always tell people, treat yourself as if you are average. So then literally, then it means that multiple sources of income is the only way to go for you. And multiple sources of income is not that complicated. There are people, I tell people, you know, your passive income, you have your work income, which you give to it's labor, exchanging labor for cash. And then the second one is your talents, right? And the things that you enjoy. I mean, I look at people actually posting the most amazing things on Instagram for free.
Sure.
And I'm like, there are so many sites where you can give your pictures to, and they will monetize it for you. Even if you make 10 rands a month, it's better than giving it for free on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Right?
Yeah.
So, and those are the kind of stuff that I see happening. And by the way, it's not just pictures and things like that. It's ideas that people put. You know, there are websites where ideas are paid for.
Yeah.
Right? There are places where you can actually do simple tasks to actually make money. Intuit is one of them. You know, you go into it and you label stuff and you get money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and those are the things that I'm talking about. So, and then, I mean, just actually understanding that even talks like this, you can monetize.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
If you are being clever about it, you can monetize. So whatever talent you have, whether it's music, whether it's painting, whether it's whatever. I mean, now pretty much anything is monetizable from what I see, you know. But how you have to apply yourself is, how can I actually make a living out of this if it's the last thing I actually had to do? And you will find that you are able to do so, right? You can be an influencer if you want. It's up to you. I mean, there are so many things you can do rather than giving your pictures for free.
Sure, absolutely. I'm more interested now in your time management, because I see that you are a group digital and fintech officer. So as a group digital, I know that you've got 21 countries under you that you're looking at, after. Now you're also a mother, and your daughter as well. I mean, you also want your free time. You're talking right now of making extra income. So besides the MTN group situation, you still want to make money outside and somewhere, to make extra income. So how do you manage your time? How are you able to spread yourself to doing all of these chores and still sleep at night and say, giving yourself a pat on the back and saying you've done well?
So there is a thing where you start off with, it's not going to be perfect, right? And that's what you have to accept, and when you accept that it is imperfect, you actually allow yourself the permission to actually do little when you can. Like, my job comes first, no matter what. That's what puts food on the table for me. So my job comes first, and I prioritize that in everything I do. And then everything else actually comes around that. So what I've then tended to do, you will start waking up a little bit earlier and you do your personal stuff. I've got some property stuff, so I do the property stuff earlier in the morning, right? That's what I do. And all the other stuff that I do, I also do in the mornings, early in the morning. So you have to actually say, the only way to stretch your time to get additional time is actually, by the way, creating time in the morning. In the evening, it's very difficult. Today, I'm having this call right now, right? This video call. So it's very difficult to actually manage your time in an effective way in the evening. And also, you have some of your own work that you still need to complete as well in the evening. In the morning, there's absolutely no excuse. When I was studying, I studied my master's actually being a chief officer at Vodacom. Okay. I actually, my kids knew every second weekend, Mama was not available. She was in the study. They will bring me little coffees that they make for me, and then Monday and Tuesdays on every other week, I was not available. I used to sleep at 1 a.m. Right? And that's what you do. It's little sacrifices that go a long way over time. So my view is consistency works. Right now, I'm trying to exercise, and so what I've now said to myself is, Yolanda, eliminate all the obstacles, because I realize that actually the best way to actually get things done is eliminating all obstacles to them. So in my bedroom, there is this little machine that actually is there, that is for exercising, and basically when I wake up, first thing I do is get onto that machine, and I only do about 10 to 12 minutes of exercise. And I've got a theory that consistency is better than intensity. Maybe it's to serve me, but that's where I'm at. And, and I'm okay with that. Like, maybe it might take me longer, but consistently so. So I try and do that pretty much every day. About 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and that's it. I don't try and overdo it. I just say, you know what? This is all I can do, and that's it. Right?
You're not bold. You're not trying to be bold. You're not trying to be bold at this point in time. You're trying to get yourself, exercise somehow.
That's it. Because I wasn't exercising, and throughout lockdown, I kept on saying, I need to exercise, I need to do this. And it never was happening, right? And for someone like me who has some form of discipline, that actually starts bothering you after some time. And someone said to me, a close friend of mine said to me, hey, Yolanda, I bought this machine and I think you should get it too. And I was like, when people that are close to you start saying you should get it too, maybe they're trying to communicate something to you. Like, hint. So I actually decided, okay, maybe it's time to actually get this little machine and actually start doing something. Yeah, and that's what I've been doing.
And I suppose it's strategic to put it in the bedroom to know that as you wake up, you gotta get on it.
Eliminate all sorts of obstacles that lead to procrastination. If you're gonna, I sleep with my laptop sometimes because I have to do stuff. Because I know if it's in the study downstairs, I ain't going there.
Sure.
Right? You take your laptop with you and you put that right next to the pillow next to you. And so that no matter what, if it doesn't bother you before you sleep, I promise you by morning, it would have bothered you. It's something will tell you, you are not finished with something. And that's,
Sure.
you know yourself. So you have to manage yourself according to the person that you are. So that's how I balance my time.
Okay. Yolanda, COVID-19 has shown us that we need to be more technologically savvy as people. And you work in the telecommunications space. Where are we going? Because what do you foresee? Do you foresee us now? Because most of us are working from home. Most of us are doing things like Zoom instead of being in a studio, where we have face-to-face interviews with people. We'd rather have it on a live show like this. So where do you see us as South Africa and maybe as young people in the entrepreneurial space digitally?
So, I mean, I think what COVID has done it actually has accelerated adoption of technology. In fact, I don't think so. I know so. And a lot of the tools that we have, including Zoom itself that we're using now, and Facebook and so on, Facebook Live, all these technologies were there long before COVID happened, right? And all that has happened is really the tools are being used more. People are adapting to them more. And my theory is that what has happened with COVID is that there has been an increase of trust. While there has been a lot of some negative stuff, it is difficult, there's the connectivity, However, it actually, as an employer and as a manager and as a leader, I don't need to see people outside my office anymore to actually believe that they work. Whereas we had policies around flexi working before, but hardly implemented it, or with a lot of suspicion when we implemented it. And now you are forced to trust people for output. And basically, as a leader, what you've done now is you've transformed your mindset to say, actually, my job is to give the overall purpose and make sure that people have bought into why we are doing what we're doing. And then what is it that we are meant to deliver? And then I trust them to actually deliver. And by the way, across the board, that is what has happened. Because now you trust online more because you rely on them. You call Uber, Eats more. I mean, there are people that didn't want to use their credit cards on online sites.
Now they have to.
They have to. So that's the trust factor that actually has increased. So what does this mean in reality for business and for entrepreneurs? It means now you can create new business models that are actually reliant on trust, which were not possible before COVID. Right?
Okay.
Because it means now people are more likely to trust that you exist and that you are not trying to scam them. Not because of your own doing, just because they had to change behavior. So now you are actually tapping into this changed behavior within that. Where is technology going? I have no clue. Okay. What am I hoping for? How do I think about technology and how and what I do? I think of technology as an inclusive tool, right? And I basically say, my departure point is there's a lot of people that have been excluded from financial services because they didn't have the right tools, the right scoring mechanisms, and so on to give them credit and so on. And technology now is enabling that. So I have a team, for example, that's doing AI-based scoring in order to do lending. So now we can score you as an individual rather than as an aggregate. People who actually never would have had access to credit would now start having access to credit because we have your airtime data. So we know what your behavior is like. And by the way, when we do airtime credit and give people credit, 90%, 99% of the people pay back. And 99 of those people, by the way, are the people, let's say 90% of those people are people that would have never been given credit because they don't have a credit score or they're not seen as credit worthy by the normal kind of banks because they aggregate risk, right? They aggregate risk. So we disaggregate risk and we just look at you as an individual. Technology is allowing us to do that, right? So those are the models that I think are going to actually permeate going forward, where people are actually, and entrepreneurs specifically, are thinking about solving for real problems that people have, for real friction points, for real challenges that people have. And by the way, there are endless amount of ideas. Whenever we do a hackathon, the number of ideas that come up, you're like, damn, I mean, I couldn't have thought even of like 10% of the ideas that have come up out of this thing. So what are the friction points? Wherever you solve for friction points, there's an opportunity to actually use technology or use other kind of forms of innovation, because innovation is not only technology. It could be a process, how you actually eliminate steps in a process that makes it easier for people to get services or products or whatever. So what are those things that you are bringing to the fore in order to make sure that technology works? So we still need a lot of people to be included in the digital economy, whether it's in financial services or whether it's overall digital. So for example, education, agriculture, health, I mean, I can call so many industries that have so much friction points. I mean, in South Africa today, we have grade 5s, right? Like 75% of grade 5s actually cannot pass a simple maths paper that actually does simple addition, simple multiplication, one number multiplication, right? 75%. And then we have teachers in grade 6, 82% of them today cannot pass the very same paper that they actually set for the kids for mathematics.
Wow.
Right? So you can see that there is just opportunities galore to actually solve real problems. And the people that are going to make it are people that are actually doing this. And the nice thing right now is that we have APIs, right? APIs is how computers or systems actually talk to each other. Just keep it that simple, and these APIs make it easy for us to connect to new services. So today, if someone says, I want to connect to mobile money, for example, to have access to the wallet, Standard Bank or MTN or whatever, there's normally one place where they have to connect to. Whereas before, they had to speak to all those people in different countries, in different departments in order to do that. Now technology has made that actually just one single connection, right? So how are you thinking then to actually make sure that we solve more and more problems?
Okay. Yolanda, thank you so much for all of that. I just want you, as we wrap up, because our time is not on our side, but I want you to say a word or two to a child out there or a young person out there who's got dreams, who's got a vision, but probably lacks the inner strength to do it. Someone who is not confident enough in themselves. As you're saying, you were born in a situation where you're exposed to both worlds. So let's talk to those who were born in a less fortunate world. What do you have to say to them when they look at you? They see it's a person who's successful. What can you say to them to encourage them?
I would say to them, because like we met, I guess, in a faith-based kind of space, I will actually quote a scripture for them. And that's Zechariah 4, verse 10. And that is, never despise the day of small beginnings. Right? Wow. And, people who solve real problems are people who have tended to have experienced them, and because you were born in hardship, because you were born in places where there were no opportunities, you are most probably likely to be the one that solves the biggest problems. When we look at the world's richest people, when we look at the world's most successful people, even presidents of countries, right, including the US, by the way, actually a lot of them came from single parents. Ask yourself why, right? Because there was some hardship that they came from, right? Whatever it is, right? You look at a lot of the rich people, when they tell their stories about where they started off from, so you must wear your hardship like a badge of honor. However, to it, you add courage, and you add preparedness, and you add passion, and you add persistence or perseverance. Then you will make it. As Tokyo once said to me, for you to catch the highest wave, you actually have to be in the water, in a wetsuit, on a board, on a surfboard. Because when that wave comes, the ones that are standing on the shore, have no chance of catching it. Even if you catch a smaller wave and you don't catch the highest one, you at least are going to catch a wave.
Sure.
So be prepared, right? And being prepared is not dependent on other people. It is dependent on your ability to add competence to yourself. And that can come through reading on Google Scholar. You know, there are so many areas now for learning that there is no excuse to say, I don't have money to go to varsity. Then go to Google and read about the things that interest you. Have passion, because when everything else fails, when your back is against the wall, when it seems like it's just your passion is that little voice that actually keeps on reminding you what actually you have a role to play and you can make it. And passion, the nice thing about passion is that it doesn't have to be reasonable.
Absolutely.
It can be irrational. It's fine, right? Yeah. So let that irrational passion be what drives you, and you will see you will make a mark in this world. Remember, history only has space and time for people that are outstanding. We will only remember you if you are outstanding. So go out there and be outstanding.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Yolanda, the Group Digital and FinTech Officer for MTN Group. She spoke to us today. She has told us that we need to get our hands dirty. We need to think out of the box. We need to be prepared for opportunity. So she didn't have it all necessarily. She's been exposed to the so-called less life. So she knows what it is to not have, but that didn't stop her to be where she is today. So don't wait for opportunity, create opportunity yourself. Thank you so much, Facebookers, for listening tonight. I hope you've learned something. Ginger the Voice is very excited to have had this conversation with Yolanda and you tonight. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next week. My name is Ginger and I'm the founder of Ginger the Voice. We're a company that seeks to enlighten, give hope and courage. And we do this through various platforms such as singing, speaking, and hosting talk shows such as this. So thank you, God bless you, and good night.